Welcome to the live stream. Sorry for the delay. Been just kind of chilling. I got lots of things done early tonight, and it is great to be with you. Hope you enjoyed last week's live stream. If you didn't check it out, I did a live stream about being thankful live, and actually had Roxy, my new daughter-in-law, and actually we kind of adopted her. Had Rhythm in the studio. Shannon made an appearance and shared lots of things. So if you haven't seen that, please go back and check that out. Tonight's topic is going to be the last 2 years with HyperDecks. I have 4 HyperDecks now. My original one, the HyperDeck Mini Studio, which is the older version. My new version, which is the HD Plus. Then my HyperDeck HD Shuttle. And then I have a new Raspberry Pi we built live a few weeks ago. And it is hooked up, even though I have to switch some things in my ATEm Mini Pro to bring that up on the screen. But I wanted to talk about HyperDecks. Are they good for live streaming? Should you get one? If you have one, do you need to? Why you would need to? We're going to talk about lots of that tonight. I'm going to show you a little bit of footage. I've got some slides to show you. We're going to talk about some of the differences. And so let me just introduce tonight by saying welcome. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm going to look down here in the chat. Let's see if we can get the chat on the air here and say hi to some people right away, because that's why we have the chat on the screen. So Freddie is here. So let's see. Let's figure out what's going on here. Chat on the air. What's going on? I see you. So let's try this again. And there we go. Hi, Freddie. It's good to have you here. Also, we have Hank here, and he's hyper ready. That's pretty stinking awesome. I've got Tony in the house. I'm sure some other people will be joining us unless they could care less about HyperDecks. We'll go down here and see if anybody else has joined me in the chat. I see a couple other fellers here. Let's say hi to TVJ. He had a great live stream last night. Quite fascinating, Jay, talking about radio stuff. My wife heard you give me a shout out because I was watching your live stream in my kitchen. So Shannon go, wow, that was nice. So thank you for the shout out about my channel. I appreciate that very, very much. Let's just see if there's anybody else here. Then we'll go back and address any starting off comments. I see, let's see. Ryzen Cuero, hi, it says hi, Keith. Hi, thanks for joining me. I think I've seen you here before. But again, if you're not subscribed, you can subscribe and then chat. And if you want to unsubscribe, that's perfectly fine with me. I'd love to have you subscribe to the channel. I do have plans for some videos. I'm going to be doing another video on the HyperDeck Shuttle. I'm going to be doing a video on the Raspberry Pi. These will all be upload videos. These are going to be kind of not shorts, which are portrait, turn sideways shorts, but these are going to be short videos on the channel. I have it all scheduled out, kind of planned out. So that should be fun. Couple things about the Shuttle I want to talk about. So again, thank you guys so much for joining me. It's always good to have you. And we'll go back in here and address any questions that you may have. Again, Hank said hi from Bluffton, South Carolina. And Freddie said, I was about to email you, Keith, in regards to HyperDecks. Then I saw tonight's stream. Yeah, I just felt that it was time to talk about this because a lot has changed. I've been noticing a lot of people are still watching my series. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. I'll explain to you why we're doing this live stream tonight, why this topic. Let's see, anything else here that I need to address? Okay, I did ask some weather questions. So Tony says it is mid-70s the last few days, lows 50 nights. Well, that's nice weather where you're at. we got really cold yesterday, so we went from like spring weather to winter weather and had to have my leather coat on with the liner. I'm outside pumping out the pond. I'll finish it after the live stream, but I started it before. Had my sprinklers blown out. We have sprinklers here in this state, and so kind of nice to have that all taken care of. Hopefully things won't freeze. I did have a fresh line that goes to my waterfall that froze up and cracked. I did not use it once they turned irrigation off. And if you don't know what irrigation water is, that's water that you use to water your yard. You don't drink it. It's mainly for yard work, and we have farmland all around us, so they do have irrigation available at our house. And so when they turn the irrigation off, which they did last week, I then have to use fresh water if I want to fill the waterfall back up. So it is getting winterized, and I'm pumping out all the water. Then I wrap a big garbage bag and duct tape around the pump and lay it outside of the hole. There's a big trough where all the water is for the pump to pump the water up to the waterfall, but really cool. So Hank says it's 67 degrees, and that's again in South Carolina. And so, okay, well, you guys aren't having super cold weather. Big shout out to David Osler here. I went over, David, and watched your new video. That's a really cool lens that you talked about. I think that was yesterday. Also, Tony had a new video on his channel, so check out Quick Tech Solutions. And already talked about TVJ. He had his live stream last night. He's hit a couple Mondays, and so quite fascinating to watch those videos, and I enjoyed that last night. So they go shorter than I do, but hopefully we'll get in the topic tonight and not go super late, because I do have lots of things to cover in these HyperDecks. Hopefully I've said hi to everybody. Just looking at the video here, Jay says it is 72 right now, 80 yesterday. So 54 on Thursday. So you guys still have very, very nice weather. And that's a great question. So we'll segue, Tony, with that question. No, I got so busy. 2 sales, one in late, September, and then another one in October. Those are 10-day sales, 4 days to set them up, 3 days in the local area, 5 days in Yakima. So I pretty well was swamped and had to just set my book aside, though I did take the book with me in my briefcase, hoping I'd have some time in the hotel. But by the time I got home, when I was traveling, I did not get to study anymore. So have about 12 hours into studying, and that question is all about getting my certification so that I can use my drone footage for commercial use as well as here on the channel. I do have 2 drones now. And my newest drone I purchased, it is for my company. It is the Mini 3 Pro DJI, and I haven't done any flying. My son-in-law is going to get one as well. We're going to do some recreational flying, hopefully this weekend. We talked about it, and he's going to start on mine, and then he's going to get a drone. We ganged up on my daughter, Nicole. And so he's the one that wrecked his drone in the side of a mountain called Twin Sisters, right here between the Pasco area and Walla Walla off of the Columbia River, and flew right into the back of it. It did an auto go home, and his drone didn't have any avoidance detection, and it flew right in to the side of that mountain. So good to have you, Bill. Late is okay. We haven't officially started our conversation tonight about 2 years of HyperDecks. We're going to get into that shortly. I was just addressing all of the stuff here. I have now hit record. Thank you very much. It seems like that's the participation in my live streams, is to make sure that I don't forget to hit record. And I notice my camera is a little low. I've been trying to sit up a bit, especially when I'm going to be working on the desk tonight, and have multiple different camera views. So hopefully you joined me early and you saw the sky cam. And I was actually sitting down for a while. I was so prepared tonight that I got a chance to take a little break, had the fan running, and then got up to unplug it and shut the door before we went live. So, okay, so tonight we're going to talk about the HyperDecks, right? I have 4 HyperDecks now. If you were here in my live stream a few weeks ago, we built a Raspberry Pi in an Argon case, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. That will be our least focused device, but that is a device that you can use as a little miniature computer, and it will be a clone of a HyperDeck. You can actually hook it up in the control software. You can auto roll, and it's predominantly video, though you could do graphics, bring it into one of your keys, and then key it the best you could to use it for motion graphics. And you could do the same thing with a HyperDeck that does not have a key channel. And so basically, to do good graphics like animated graphics, I'll give you an example right here. Here is my Stinger. And so predominantly that would be used to transition. And that Stinger is keyed out. So it has a key channel and it has a fill channel, a fill being the main video, and the key channel is what removes the background and gives me nice crisp edges. So if you see that Stinger again, this is my older HyperDeck Studio Mini, and it's since then been updated. The challenge with that update, and the primary reason that we're going to talk about this tonight, is that I keep having people watching my mini videos, and they're watching my HyperDeck Studio HD Plus videos, because I have playlists here on my site, how to use the HyperDeck, how to make graphics using After Effects. I have lots of videos in those playlists. So I have one on the Mini, which is the original HyperDeck HD. It'll also record and play back 4K. And that is what you just saw. That's what my Stinger plays on. My subscribe logo plays on that as well. And I pretty well have this HyperDeck dedicated to do exactly that, to play these keyed out graphics. So my Stinger as well as my subscribe logo. So they're always loaded, always ready to go. And they come into my extreme ISO in the Mini comes in channel 5 and 6. And then my HyperDeck HD Plus comes in 7 and 8. Again, you need 2 channels to be able to use those special effects and be able to key out the background. And what it does is it gives you crisper graphics. It's the whole reason why you would get a HyperDeck, and you can use that. And there's other things that you can use that will do the same thing. You don't have to have a HyperDeck. You can get a DeckLink card if you have a Macintosh or a PC that you can put a card in it. And you can get one with just 2 channels out. You can get one with 4 channels out. You can assign that DeckLink Duo card, that those can be inputs or outputs. And then you could have that DeckLink card be like 2 HyperDecks. Now you're going to have some kind of software like ProPresenter or some software on your computer where you can assign those channels to a fill and a key. But the HyperDeck comes ready to go. Now, we're going to talk about some of the challenges with the HyperDeck, how you prepare videos for it, and I will do my best to answer your questions along the way. But again, in my studio, I have the old HyperDeck Mini Studio, and it does come with a key and fill SDI out. So keep that in mind. Then you get the HD Plus is the only one of the least expensive new versions that have also a key and fill channel. If you buy the newer Mini, it does not. It has new time clock inputs and outputs, but it does not have that extra channel out. They got rid of one thing to make room for something else. Now, there are other benefits to the new HyperDeck Studio HD Plus, and going all the way up the food chain into the 4K versions, all the way up into the 8K versions, and that is you start having new cool features like a headphone output, a little speaker built into it, more buttons, easier to control, better scroll wheels in the larger ones, not in the HyperDeck HD Plus. I think it's identical, the little scroll wheel that you mainly use to go through menus. And then also this last year, the Shuttle came out. The Shuttle is a desktop version. We're going to look at all these, so hang tight And that also does not give you the ability to have two channels out. You just have an HDMI in and an HDMI out. Then you have the internet cable. You have an a USB-C port. And that's pretty much all the Shuttle is for, but it does do something really cool, and that's it has a built-in teleprompter. So you either have to use it to play video back, that's one setting, or you use it to play the teleprompter, and we're gonna look at that feature as well. Let me finish saying hi to everybody, then we're gonna dive into multi-view, and we're gonna take a look at 3 of my 4 HyperDecks tonight. And then we'll also look at the Raspberry Pi, which is a HyperDeck clone. And that is running in the Raspberry Pi. It's running software called Playout B. And there's a Windows version that will run off of your PC. So you could use your PC. I think there's a Macintosh version as well. But I own the Windows version. I haven't used it yet. There's also a Pi version that you have to pay. And it does cost, I think it's $50 US to buy Playout B. You load that file, which is the operating system combined with Playout B. You load that into your new Raspberry Pi, and now your Raspberry Pi HDMI out, and mine has 2 HDMI out, so the primary HDMI out will play out into a device like my ATEm Extreme or my ATEm Extreme ISO, my ATEm Mini Pro or my ATEm Mini Extreme ISO. So, okay, I need to take a breath. That was a long introduction. So let's go back in here. Make sure I still have chat here, and let me say hi to a couple more people. Doug, it's great to have you as usual, and I popped over and watched some of your videos, so go over and check out Doug's channel. Cool cat. It's kind of funny, you know, you meet these different people in the chat, and then you go and look at their channels, and if you have videos, or if I've been able to be face-to-face with you, and some of you I have been able to be face-to-face, and if you ever want to have a free 1-hour consult, I could either help you or just talk with you. Just go to my website, lifejourneyproductions.com, and I'll put a link in the description later tonight, and you can go over and register, and then let's email back and forth, and maybe someday we can be face-to-face. I haven't been face-to-face with Doug, but I have been to his channel, and so check out his channel and see what is happening there. Let me just go back through here. I asked Freddie first about the weather, and he just says hot. So I don't know if that's centigrade or if there's a temperature, but go ahead, Freddie, just throw out that temperature, even if it's not in Fahrenheit. If it's in centigrade, that's perfectly fine. Okay. Okay, I'll answer this, Jay. I think, if it'll let me. Clear that, and let's try to put that up. Yeah, my Pi is working. We're going to look at it tonight, hopefully before we're done. I have my Raspberry Pi, my HyperDeck, both coming into my ATEm Mini Pro, so I have to switch channels, and then my ATEm Mini Pro, most of you know how I have my studio wired, and the way I have it wired is that program out. Instead of going to a monitor in my studio, I have it set for program, because you could set it for multi-view or any one of the 4 inputs. I have it set to program out, and then that comes in channel 3 in my main ATEm Mini Extreme ISO, which is what I'm streaming from. So I've been using my Extreme ISO now for over a year, I believe. Absolutely love it. Very few issues. Had some issues with noise in the preamps of mic 1 and mic 2, and so I had to plug it into clean power supply. Same problem with the ATEm Mini Pro, but again, that's because I have so many things plugged in my studio, and I did not spend the $5,000 to get an isolated panel and then separate all my lights in my studio from my other gear, because that will make a difference. Lights can create a hum. There's also electricity hum. You never know what's going on with your ground in your house. And I'm in a house. In fact, these walls are, this is an exterior wall, so it's 6 inches. That's an exterior wall. And halfway to the end of the, probably right about at the end of the TV is all 6-inch wall going that way. And then this wall from the TV over is insulated extra, blown-in insulation in that wall, so my son's sound doesn't come through as easy. And then this wall right here behind my closet, which is where my desk is, that wall actually is on the other side of that is the bathroom. I also have insulation in that wall, blown-in insulation, and I believe I also put soundboard on there, so if someone flushes the toilet, it doesn't come through my recordings. In fact, I think I just heard the toilet right there. So let's do this. HyperDeck and me, let's get this up so it's not in the shot. I think, so here's my HyperDeck. So this is the Playout B right here. This is my original Mini right here. This is my new HyperDeck HD Plus, and then the Shuttle's right here. And I can pick the Shuttle up and hold it to the camera, and the buttons are on the top, and it's got the big knob. And then both the Mini, which is the older version, they have a new version of this, but again, it does not have the key channel. It only has time code in and out, and then HDMI in and out, where the old Mini is SDI outs, so it has to be converted, and you can see that information in my video. And then the new HD Plus, it does have an HDMI in and HDMI out, but it also has the two SDIs. One is fill, the other is key. And so those are coming out and being converted, and they go into channel 7 and 8, the HD Plus does. And my little HyperDeck Mini is also, the two channels SDI are converted. So you got to convert them from SDI to HDMI, unless, of course, you buy the new SDI version of the ATEm Mini, and then you don't have to do that. In fact, I would get one of those, except for I would like to have 4 channels being HDMI and then 4 channels being SDI, because I'm going to have to convert either way. So either convert the HyperDeck 4 channels or have to convert the cameras, because I use all DSLR cameras with HDMI out. So for whatever it's worth, that's kind of the 4 decks. So you can see them right here. And then if I go to this view, you find it here. If I go to this view and then switch over here, turn something off here, stand by. So you can see now that this is a camera view. Above me is my HyperDeck Shuttle, and if I hit the jog wheel here, I'll just scroll, then I can go up through the teleprompter view. And then up here on the top, up there that's my main HyperDeck. And if I hit play, you're probably going to hear this. And then my other HyperDeck, which is my Mini, if I hit play on that, then you're going to see my Stinger. And then you see my subscribe logo. So there you have it. I have 3 HyperDecks live right now. Now, in order to show my Playout B, it uses, it's PC based. So you have to log into a domain site or a link, a web page, and that's where you play it from. And I can show you what that play page looks like. Let me change some inputs here real quick. Let me go into, let's see, I will change box 2. Let's see. No, let's change box 1. So there is the URL. It's playoutb :3000 \control. And if I have 2 files. This untitled comes with the Playout B software. It automatically loads onto your disk, your little micro SD card in your Raspberry Pi. And then this is the control page. So I could upload videos right here and just grab whatever video I wanted to grab by just hitting the plus button and then hit open, and then it will put it in this playlist. And so I have this one right now, but in order to play this, I have to share my desktops differently, and then I have to be able to let my Raspberry Pi play into my ATEm Mini Pro, and I do not have things set up that way. I do have it in channel 4. So I just made 4 live, and let me hit play and see what happens here. Okay, it is playing from my ATEm, so I'll bring that on the screen here for you. So I'm going to change the playout B to channel 4, and that is my playout B playing up there. So I just switched from my shuttle up there to my playout B, and they all will work with the control software. So I'm going to stop that just here real quick. So again, I can't show you that, but I'm going to hit the stop button, and it stops that from playing. I'll go back in here and share my desktop again. So you see I've hit stop. And so I can load those files right here, and they should load onto the Raspberry Pi, and they should play. It just depends on how fast your Pi is and how big those files are. And this one played fine, but a couple other ones I tried did not play fine. So again, now if I bring up the control software, so let's go back to me and a logo, and then let me bring up the control software here. Just going to drag it over. Again, I am live. And this is going to look kind of funky because it's so huge. So let me go back here. 3 box. And the playout B has taken over my computer. We'll go back to that. And let me change the box here to my PC again. So here's the software. And if I go into the HyperDecks, here they are. I have my HyperDeck Mini, okay? That is playing right over there. And so, and it's hooked up. That's the IP address. This is the channel it's playing in. And if it does have a key channel and a fill channel, you only have to select the fill channel. And that really is so you can turn on auto roll, and it will roll automatically. The main reason for this is for auto roll. So the reason you hook up your HyperDecks, and again, how do you do that? You go down into settings wheels on the bottom of your computer. I'll give you guys a closer up to this. You go to settings down here on the bottom. Then you open this up, and then you have the general window, audio, multi-view, labels, and HyperDecks. And then you have to put the IP address into the HyperDeck, and these do have a tendency of disconnecting. And then the last one down here is actually my Raspberry Pi. It actually emulates a HyperDeck, so as soon as you have the IP address in, it will connect. You have to select what channel it's playing in. It only has one HDMI out, no SDI out. That comes right out of the Raspberry Pi, just kind of like an HDMI out in your computer. So again, that Raspberry Pi then becomes a HyperDeck. So it's basically a clone, and then you can play it just like a regular HyperDeck. So you could queue up a video, select your video. As soon as you cut to that channel, if you have auto roll selected up there, and again, I'm mousing right around auto roll right there. So you can see I have auto roll on all of my channels. And that's why sometimes when I cut to a HyperDeck channel, the video automatically rolls because I have auto roll turned on. If you don't want the video to auto roll, then you can save this screen, exit it. Then you go up here in your control software. I will cut back to my desktop again. Up here in your control software, you have media player, and then here are my 4 HyperDecks, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and these 2 are reversed for whatever reason. 4 is playing, so I turn that off. And so I can go into each of these HyperDecks and I can choose those videos. So I'll stay in here right now and switch back over. And you can see now that I'm in here up there, I can hit play on my Insta360 video. And that is in my other HyperDeck, so I would have to switch. So we'll do this HyperDeck over here. This is my intro to my post show. I'll do my desert time lapse and I will hit play right here. And so rather than auto rolling it, I can just hit play. So if you wanted to show a video on a screen in your live stream, or you're doing a live event and your guest speaker wants a video to be played, then you can just hit play, hit stop, rewind it, start again. And then you also have a record button. And then here's a list of the files right here that's in each one of these HyperDecks. So HyperDeck 1 has 2 files. That's my stinger. So if I hit my stinger plays. That's in my HyperDeck Mini. And then if I go back to this HyperDeck and hit play, the time lapse plays, hit stop, go into my 4th HyperDeck, hit play, and that is playing here in my studio, but it's not one of the displays on the screen. And then if I go up to the play out B and hit play and switch back over to it, it would play if I share my screen differently. And right now I do not have my screen shared. So again, back to this view. I know I'm not in this shot, but you have 4 HyperDecks listed. So as soon as they are hooked up right here, then they're going to show up right here in your media player. So I can play still images right here. So I can choose a still image in media player 1, or I can choose a still image in my media player 2. And those are found right down here. Here's media player 1. Here's media player 2. So I don't have to go in here and drag and drop them. I can actually go up here and choose them right here. So I have my logo. I could replace my logo with this front image. And then if I cut to that right now, then it's that image. So I can choose those right from this spot right here. And that is what's really exciting about choosing those. So again, my logo plays automatically when I cut to this macro. I can also play the teleprompter, and that could be on a monitor and I could be reading that. So let's talk real quickly about why I have 3 HyperDecks from Blackmagic Design. I have the Mini, I also have the HyperDeck Plus, and then I have the Shuttle above me. Well, if I just want to use the Shuttle for a teleprompter and to be able to scroll back and forth in the view, then I have this big knob on my desk to scroll back and forth. And again, we'll cut back to that HyperDecks to me. I'm just scrolling back and forth right here on my HyperDeck. And the way you do that is you push the jog and scroll buttons right there. You turn that around, you can see that those are lit up, these 2 buttons. And then I can simply scroll back and forth, and it's going to play when they're chosen, just like that. And if I hit scroll, I can scroll back and up there. And so I can do scroll and set the timing. I can go into my HyperDeck Shuttle and change the size of the fonts. And then I could also change over to video play mode in my Shuttle. And then it will read only the video files on my Shuttle. So it'll either read the text files, or it's going to read the video files. It's one or the other, and you have to select that inside the HyperDeck Shuttle. So, okay, let's pause back and go back to me and the logo, and let's just review real quickly. So if you're going to play animated graphics like this subscribe logo, then you're going to want to have a fill and key. Probably not a playout B in a Raspberry Pi, but you could possibly use your key to key that out and make it look really good. But again, anything that's moving on the screen has a tendency to not have really good edges. And then when you get really high tech, like a Stinger, for changing different screenshots, then that really will look way more crisp if you have a key channel and a fill channel, and that's the HyperDeck Shuttle HD. That's also the older HyperDeck Mini, and then the 4K, and then the bigger models all have those key channels. But if you buy the new HyperDeck HD, it does not have a key and fill channel, so keep that in mind. And so I wanted to kind of illustrate this just a little bit of what these devices have, but let's stop and take a look at what's going on in the chat. So, okay, we got record on here. Let me scroll down. So Freddie is commenting on, let's see. Freddie is commenting on the SDI version of the Extremes, and they did come out with an Extreme SDI version. But again, Freddie, realized that my HyperDecks would work great. My Mini and my new HD Plus, they would just come SDI right out into my Extreme ISO. But now I would have to convert my camera 1, my camera 2, and my camera 3. And I do have all 3 cameras fired up, even though my 5D Mark III always times out. But I do have the 5D Mark III live tonight, so I can switch over to that and turn off subscribe, and then I'll just cut to this. So that's my overhead camera, so you can see a closer look at the Raspberry Pi. Then I have my Mini underneath that. I can also switch right here which one I want to show on my monitor, so I can see what's playing between my Mini and my HD Plus. I usually have my HD Plus in the monitor so I can hear my intro reel. And then here's the Shuttle on top of my HD Plus. And they do get warm, so keep that in mind. If you're going to use those, realize they will get hot, but they're really cool devices. So Freddie, you're gonna have to choose. If you buy an SDI version of the Extreme, you're gonna have to choose what you're gonna convert from HDMI and a camera to SDI. So it really doesn't make sense now. That's why I haven't purchased the ME2, or I haven't purchased the ME4. I haven't purchased the new SDI Extreme, because they really don't solve my problems. If I was going to purchase another unit, I could either purchase a ATEm Mini Pro ISO, so I could be recording everything right now going into my ATEm Mini Pro. But I usually have switches, so 2 things can come in, 2 different choices can come into one of the channels in the ATEm Mini Pro. So the best solution for my studio still is to replace my ATEm Mini Pro with another ATEm Mini Extreme ISO. And that means I'd have 2 super sources, but only that super source would have to be brought in to one or the other to use that second super source. Same with all of those channels. They still would have to be brought in to my ATEm. And so I'd have to create the super source inside that first ATEm Extreme ISO, and then bring it in through one of the program outs into one of my inputs on my ATEm Extreme ISO. The cool thing is it has 2 HDMI outs, so that gives you more options than my ATEm Mini Pro. So one out could be program out all the time, so whatever channel I want to bring in, I can. The other channel literally could be multi-view, or it could be a channel that I use for whatever else I would like to use it for. So the only way to bring in super source from that other ATEm Extreme ISO would be to send it to the program out and bring it in. I also could use my streaming bridge and broadcast from that unit into my one of my channels, but it makes no sense at all, because I could just run an HDMI cable from one output to input. So hopefully that makes sense, and I'm not completely, totally confusing everybody right now. So I wanted to show you some slides. So this is the original Extreme, our mini HyperDeck Studio Mini. And you can tell it has the white screen if you see pictures for the new version. Let's see if I have a photograph of that to drop in here. The new version that does not have that extra key channel out looks just like that. And you can go between white LED screen to black. And I like the black better than I do the white. It's just easier to see the numbers and the time code. So that's a big difference on the front, because you can see they look very, very, very similar, even though the angle of the shot is different. They look almost identical. I'll show you that again. That's the old version. And then if I pop in the new version, that's the new version. And so they have two SDI inputs in the front. The buttons are the same. Let's see, are there any changes? I don't think so. I think the buttons are completely identical. They have not made any changes. Now, if I drop in the new HD Plus, it's a complete redo. It has the headphone output right there. Above that, you see the little speaker. I can also turn auto roll on and off, which is that remote button right there. So if I don't want it on, which it's on right now, I can just push that button. I don't have to go into the control software and turn auto roll on and off. I really like that feature, especially if you were doing an event and you wanted to auto roll your intro for the event, you wanted to auto roll your outro. But during the event, you just want to be able to manually control your HyperDeck HD Plus. You would turn that button off and not use it. And then next to that is the two SD cards. You still have to format your SD cards. Let me pull one out here. Should I pull one out here? Well, they're SD cards. You do have to use MOV files, so you're going to have to edit all your videos unless you're doing your Shuttle text files, and those are rich text format, RTF. So you would export them in Word with a black background and white fonts, and you would export it instead of a Word document. You can just export directly from Microsoft Word, and you export as a .RT, rich text format, RTF. And then those will play perfectly good inside the Shuttle. And we'll look at the Shuttle here shortly. Then you can go up a notch. Well, let's continue with the buttons. So then you have more buttons. So compare it to the old HyperDeck or the newer small version. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buttons. And then you get to the Shuttle. You now have the 2 buttons on the left-hand side right there by me. And then you have 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, 6. And then you have the buttons next to that. You have search, menu, and set. And if we go back to the old version, well, let's go all the way back to the one I have in the studio here. You can see you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buttons. So you have the menu button, you have the set button, you have a shift forward and back from clips. And that's what those arrow buttons are. So you can go clip forward, clip back, and then you can hit the jog wheel, and that will let you jog forward and back through your clip. And then you have the record button, the play button, and the stop button. And then if you compare it to the newer version, it's pretty much very similar. Just A-B those again. New version, the version right there that does not have a key channel, and then the old version that does have a key channel. So let's put the new version back up there. So if you look at this, and let me bring up this full screen so I can see it too, you can see that you have the remote input, you have the power input, you've got the 12-volt DC, so you could power it through 12-volt DC. You have the Ethernet port, then you have the REF out, the time code out, the REF in, and the time code in. Those 2 top SDs kind of replace what was on the back of the old version. And so they've reformatted the back side of this device. So even though it looks identical on the front, it is completely different on the back. So the old version and the new version look the same when you see them on B&H, except for the black screen. But in reality, they're not the same at all. The back does not look like it used to look. This is what it looks like now. And so if you're going to buy an old HyperDeck Mini because you want to get a deal and be able to use it to play keyed out graphics, then it will have a SDI in, and it'll have two HDMI in, two SDI out, or it'll have a SDI key out and SDI fill out. And this one does not. You can see on the top right, you have a SDI out, and on the bottom right, you have an SDI in. So you can bring video out through HDMI to a monitor, and then you can bring video in to record it through an SDI input, and you can bring video out through an SDI output. So you're going to have to convert this to use it in an ATEm. Doesn't matter unless you buy the new Extreme SDI version. So hopefully that doesn't confuse you, but these were designed to be in racks in studio and link them together in time codes so that you could use them mainly to record ISO tracks. So 5 Blackmagic cameras, 5 inputs into the SDI inputs, all the time codes linked, and you hit record, and all the decks record from number 1. They all record, all the cameras alive. You're going to get an ISO recording to every single camera. Now we can buy a ATEm Mini Extreme ISO and record 8 inputs all at the same time, and we don't need HyperDecks to do that. All of those 8 inputs will record right on a SSD drive like this one right here through the USB-C out. So I'm recording to one of these right now, tonight's live stream, and I don't have to have HyperDecks to record all of my cameras. I can use my Extreme ISO. So HyperDecks solve a number of issues. So that's the back of the new HyperDeck, and this is the motivation for tonight's video. Lots of people are buying this, and then they can't find the key channel out, and that's because it's not there. You save money on this over the old version because it has time code now, but it does not have the key channel out. It only has a single SDI out. So you can still play video. You can even play your graphics through one channel, but you're not going to have the nicer key effect to the back of that. Now, if I throw up the Shuttle, here's the back of the Shuttle, which is a new version as well. And you can see it has an HDMI in, it has an HDMI out. It does not have a SDI out. It does not have a key channel out. You literally would have to use your HDMI out if you were going to play graphics or video. And when I played that time, that video and had the teleprompter playing, that was coming out of the HDMI output. And then the HDMI input would be if I wanted to record to the HyperDeck, because I can record to it. And I'll put that picture up here in a little bit. I am out of spot. So now the downside of this puppy right here, and Tony, you would agree with this, is that I actually had to update the fan. And so I watched Tony's video here on Quick Tech Solutions, and I learned that I could change this fan out, noisy fan for a quiet fan. So this will void the warranty, so keep that in mind. But all the new HyperDecks have a quiet fan in them, but that old HyperDeck and the old HD switcher all are very noisy. And I hear the new Matrix, right? The SDI matrices that Blackmagic Design sells. I can't think what they're called right now, but someone can remember that and put it in the chat. So I have a video on my channel. So I did a video. Tony has a great video on his channel on how to pull the fan out. So the pecking order goes like this now. You have 4 new choices for HyperDecks. The one on the top is this little one I just showed you guys. We spent all the time on. It does not have a key channel out. Then the second one is the one I have in my studio. There it is. And it does have the headphone out. It has the remote switch. It has a little speaker there. So if I push that and have headphones plugged in, I'll hear what's playing. If I push that when the headphones are out, I will get noise in the little speaker right there. That little hole right next to that is a little teeny tiny speaker. So literally the new HyperDeck HD Plus, Studio HD Plus, has a speaker built into it. So then if we go up the food chain even more, then you can see there's two HyperDecks. They have nicer wheels. One is 4K, one is just an HDA on steroids, and they, closer up, they look like this, and you can put SD cards in them, and you can also put these bigger cards in them. So that gives you redundancy. I guess that's important to a lot of people. But I have this video right here on my channel, and one of the coolest things about the Shuttle isn't that it plays keyed graphics, it's that it has a teleprompter built into it, and you can also use it as a desktop playback device. Now, why is that important? One, I can scroll forward and back using the scroll and jog wheel pushed down at the same time, and I could cue a video in the perfect spot real quickly in a booth and then hit play. And that big wheel gives me the ability to do that. Or I could switch in the menu and quickly change it over to the teleprompter view, and then it's going to go and play the teleprompter view. Now, the downside of this device is that the HDMI out, when you push the menu button, it displays that in a tiny window on the screen. And we'll go back to this 3-box window, and I'll illustrate that. Let me go back to that device. Now, if I push the little menu button, there you go. You can see above me now, there's a little menu screen, and that's as big as it gets. So you better have a big monitor if you're going to play with that. So if I was live right now, that would be up until I change it and change the menu. And I have to fumble through those menus, so you're going to have a large monitor, and you would not want that Shuttle live when you are doing that. So I love the fact that you have all of these choices now, 4K, HD, redundancy with discs, nicer jog wheels when you get to these bottom two. They've got a very high-end jog wheel where these top two are identical. So all three of the lower ones do a alpha and a key channel, but the top one does not. So if you want to buy a small one again, you're going to have to go back to the old HyperDeck Studio Mini and buy a used one somewhere and make sure that's what it is, because that is not the same as this new device right there, which has time code in and out, but it does not have the features that you really want. So when anybody asks me what HyperDeck to buy, I recommend the one that I purchased. That's the HD Plus. And it is a great device. You can see all the inputs and the outputs. Not only do I have HDMI in, I have HDMI out. The top right, far right on the bottom there is the key and fill channel. Below that, I have SDI in. I even have a loop out. So if I wanted to loop out to another HyperDeck, I could. If I wanted to loop out to another device, I could. So I love that. It still has time code. You can see there it has time code in and out. It has the RF in and out. It also has the remote in, Ethernet port. It can be powered through DC power input as well as just a wall input. So that's a little different. This Shuttle has a little bit different power options, and actually all of these have different power options. This one has that smaller 12-volt DC plug and a regular 110, where this newer device, you can see right here on the bottom, it has this 12-volt 4-pin connector, which is, if you've been around like lighting and all that, you'll be very familiar with powering from a 4-pin connector. And so there's all the outputs. You also have a remote in and remote out. So if you're still using old boards to control HyperDecks, then that's how you're going to be able to control them. But that's why I have the HyperDeck Studio HD in my studio. And if I was going to upgrade, I would probably go to the 4K version of that puppy right there. So here's a breakdown of all the different things, the prices, at least when I made this slide. The HyperDeck Shuttle, the top that doesn't have a key channel, is $495. You can actually buy an ATEm Mini Pro now for $295. A lot of people are selling it for more on eBay, but they lowered the price. So go to B&H or Adorama, and you can buy a ATEm Mini Pro for $295 US. Then you have the HyperDeck Shuttle Studio HD Mini. That's the one I have in my studio. Then next to that, I call it the Plus. For some reason, I've been calling it the Plus since the very beginning. HyperDeck Studio HD Pro. And again, that starts having the 2 SSD and the 2 SD slots. You can see that's $995, $695 for the HyperDeck HD Mini. And then you have the HyperDeck Studio 4K Pro. And that 4K even has H.265. You can see that in all of the information. And I didn't bring the backs of those because I don't have them in the studio. And so I really focus on what's available on this model because that is the nicest HyperDeck I have in my studio. And it does just about everything I could want it to do. Now, it would be great if it had SDI outs for the, the main key and fill. And you can see it's right there on the top right. You have A and B. A is fill. That would be if you're just playing a video back. And B is going to be your key. And that is what you're going to use to cut out the background. Now, you got to create files to do this. And so there's steps that you have to do. Flying key is on, and my logo is not where it's supposed to be. So go in here to Super Source, key number 1. Upstream key 1, flying key off. There we go. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit about the HyperDecks. I want to take some time now and see if there's any questions. I might do this, TVJ. It's a great idea. I would like to redesign my studio and make some changes. I've been talking about it for a while. I've been so crazy busy with this new client that I'm going to need to wait for the break in the winter because I will not be under contract probably all of December and January, maybe even February. So I'll have plenty of time in the studio, but I would like to do some redesigning in the studio. Yeah, and this is something too. Tony said that the older model of the, let's see, let's go back into, where is my slideshow? The older model, again, can be powered over Ethernet. Wrong mouse, sorry. Macros are in my way. So let's pop that up there again. Oh, I don't have the back of that. So yeah, I don't have the back of that, but this is the one up there that Tony's talking about. This will actually can be powered over Ethernet. The newer HyperDecks, I think the new version, Tony, can as well. I'm pretty sure this one can. But when you get to the bigger ones like I have in my studio, they aren't because they just have too much, there's just too much power draw. So they did not add that. I'm not sure if the Shuttle will do power over Ethernet as well. It doesn't say anything on the back of it, but I'm not sure that they would say anything on the back of it if they did. And I was just going to go in here to one more slide. Where are you? Shuttle graphics. Let's drop this right there. So that's the front of the Shuttle. So you can see the buttons on it. And again, it sits right on top of the desk. It's a great little device. I'm not sure if it will be powered over Ethernet as well, but that's what the Shuttle looks like. Here's a side view. Just going to drop these in. Sorry, they're not very big. And then here's a top-down view of that Shuttle. So it's a pretty decent device. It's about the size of my hand, and I think it is a great solution if you just I'm going to have to fix that macro. Flying key off. So it's not set in me and my logo macro. So also I wanted to say tonight that MixFX has had a big update. The new update is 1.7.1. So check out Adam Tao's updates to MixFX. He did a video over on his channel. If I can remember right, I will pop that into my chat or my notes this evening. I'm going to put my mini series in there, my HyperDeck HD series in there, my Shuttle series in there. I'll have those in the notes tonight. Also, I'll have a link to Adam's new video on MixFX 1.7.0 release. That's to deal with the new iOS update. So keep that in mind. You're going to need to update your iPhone or your iPad. But again, I've talked about this before, but I wanted to just show you. I'm going to close my live stream. I have MixFX also on my phone. This is an iPhone. I have it on my iPad. So I could go in here right now into my macros, and I can cut back to my still image. I can go to me and the logo. I can go back to my 3-box, and I'm just literally hitting this on here. I can even get out of my extreme ISO and go into my ATEm Mini Pro and control it with MixFX. And again, if you buy MixFX, again, this is not sponsored by Adam Tao. I'm just a big fan of the app. I want to have him back on and talk about all the updates, but it gives you some control of your ATEm Extreme. I can also control my HyperDecks. And then there's some other things that Adam has designed. So you can do shortcuts to be able to change discs inside your shuttle. So you can go from the mode to play teleprompter view to play a video. So if you were doing an event and all you had is a shuttle and you needed to play a video, and then after the video is done, you need to put the teleprompter view back up on the screen for whoever is doing your speaking. If it's you or someone else, you literally could switch with a shortcut right from your phone and switch between teleprompter mode back to the regular video mode in a shuttle, rather than having to have 2 shuttles, one for teleprompter and one for playing video. So I think the HyperDecks are pretty incredible. So let's continue going through the questions. That was a great point, Tony, that you can power a older HyperDeck Shuttle Mini, HyperDeck Studio Mini through power over Ethernet. So I hope you guys know that's what Tony was talking about. Let's go back to this view, chat on the air. Good to have you back, David. You must have popped out. Yeah, power Freddie over the older models with power over Ethernet. You need to have a powered switch. So not all switches for internet is powered. You have to buy a switch that has power in it. There's different levels of power. I know a little bit about that, but that would be a great place to go learn from Tony at Quick Tech Solutions about that, or ask him questions. Tony's checking on the HyperDeck model to see if it can be powered over Ethernet. It's good to have you, LT Allen. It's good to have you. It says, great info and show. Thank you. Did you say that the HyperDeck Shuttle can key? No, the HyperDeck Shuttle cannot key. Now, you can use your upstream key with whatever graphic you're playing from your shuttle. So you're going to choose your shuttle as your input. Let's go ahead and go to this view right here. Which view is it? HyperDecks and me? Yeah. So I'll just change this input real quickly. Take chat off the air. Okay. So I got to pull this back over here. Live demo. Sorry that my computer screen is not at the right resolution for this, but let me go into super source. That would be box number 2. I could do this in my MixFX as well, but tonight I'm doing it from in here. Nope, that's EOSR. That would be, no, that's right. So let's change this to my desktop. So what you would do then, if you were going to use your shuttle as an input, you would go in to your upstream key and you would choose that input. So for instance, when I'm using my shuttle, and I'll switch over to it right now, I can't do chat on the screen. So if I switch to my shuttle and it's playing on the screen right here, and then if I went to, let's use a different key. I'm going to go into key number 3, which I rarely use. And you can see it's set up to have an input from my, my channel 6, which is my mini. And that's just the key channel. I don't know why it's set like this. I just never use this key. So let's change this to my ATEm Mini Pro. I'll just do both. And then we'll turn this on the air and see what happens to the screen. There you go. So then I can just go down here and adjust these. So there you have, I'm just adjusting right here. So now I have the teleprompter playing over top of me. So I could hit the scroll and bring it back and bring it up again. So even though I only have an HDMI out and this is moving on the screen, I still could use it, and I just have to adjust this to get the settings right. So get it perfectly right where I'm showing through and it's there. And again, I could make it smaller. I can go down here to the flying key settings, and then I can make this smaller. And so it could just be playing right here next to me. And then obviously, if I didn't want both things on at the same time, I would turn the desktop off and only have that teleprompter on. So turn that key back off. So again, I can use the key feature in the pre-multiplied key feature. You don't have pre-multiplied on, you have these dials. That's also what I do for chat on the screen. So when I bring chat on the screen, on the air, I use these adjustments. That's in key number 4. You can see if key number 4 goes off, my chat goes off the air. So here's a demo, and I have a macro set. So if I make these changes, as soon as I hit my macro, it'll go back to whatever the settings are. But this is key number 3. I close that, go to key number 4, and here's the settings I have for the chat. I have it at 8.9. So watch, if I move this, you can see I'm losing the chat the way I had it. So I'll go back to 8.9. Close as I can get to that, 8.5. And if I move this dial, you can see what's happening. So you use this to adjust your chat. So then if I go chat off the air, back on again, then it goes back to my presets. And of course, I don't want chat on the air right now. So that's just my PC coming into input number 3 in my Extreme ISO. So I only have one input. I don't have a key input. So I got to use the dials to get that chat on the air as crisp as I can possibly get it. Tony says he just checked. Let's go back to me and the logo. Tony said he just checked. And let me look at this over here. And the newer models, none of them support PoE. However, the HyperDeck Studio 4K Pro does have 10G. Wow. HyperDeck Studio 4K Pro. Thank you, Tony, for getting us up to speed with HyperDeck info. You see the ultimate view back there. I go a long, long way back there in my stream. So it has been an hour and 10 minutes. And I haven't even covered 2 years of HyperDeck. So let's do it. Well, let me check the chat here. Make sure you're not waiting on me to answer something. Yes, I did get the short video you sent me, Hank. I have not watched it yet. So Hank sent me some information about what he's been doing over the years. If you've been on the channel, he claims to be the oldest viewer here, and it could be true. I say Hank is over 40 years old. Let's just say that. He'll tell you it might be a few years over that. And he sent me kind of a nice little document to tell me some of the story. Don't have permission to share that here, but Hank also sent me a video. I'm excited to see that interview. It sounds like it's an interview of you from the past based on your email. And I was just super excited, Hank, to tell you the truth, that I get to hang out with you, Doug, on your channel. But with Hank, I'm connected through email, and it's going to be fun. So hopefully someday soon, I'll be able to maybe connect with Doug as well as some of the rest of you that I haven't connected with. So I think I hit record. So thank you for reminding me, Tony. I see that back in the chat. So Hank, I will watch that. Sorry it took me so long to answer that. Freddie is telling us that it's 32 degrees centigrade. That's about almost 80 degrees Fahrenheit. David told us he was heading out. Now he's back. Doug is telling Tony he's doing well. That's great. Good to hear that. And Jay says he loves the new teleprompter version of the HyperDeck Shuttle. Yeah, and I'm a big fan as well. I haven't used a teleprompter, but I love the idea of it. I like to be able to show some of the specs of different equipment. Like if I'm in a view like this, let's see, HyperDeck and me, then I could switch, instead of having this camera, which is my camera 1, I could switch that to the Shuttle and show you guys the information. I love the black background with white on top of it. So if you're going to show any specs, and if you go over to David's channel, he goes to the website a lot and shows specs, which is great. You go to someone's website, it looks pretty cool, but I think it's even cooler to bring up the specs or whatever the document is. Holy cow, that got big. I moved the control software over and it took over my whole screen ×5, and now I shrunk it down again. So the HyperDeck Shuttle teleprompter is pretty cool. You could also use it for motion graphics. You're just going to have to use the key features in your ATEm Mini Pro or whatever else you're using if you have a key. And I love the 4 keys, upstream keys that you get with the new Extremes. That's way better than one upstream key that you get in the ATEm Mini Pro. I love the 2 outputs in the HDMI Extreme. You also have 2 outputs in the Extreme ISO. And I believe there's like one other feature in the Extreme ISO SD. I would just have to do some digging to let you know. And then I'm so high tech here in my studio that, oh, where'd it go? It's so funny that I use these right here. Where's that at? I don't really want to get rid of that slide. So let me kick this slide to the curb right here. So that one's about to go away. I use these door stops to prop up my HyperDecks in my studio. So if you didn't see that, sorry, that's such a bad picture. But for whatever it's worth, this is a better picture to have on the screen right now. It looks a little bit more professional than the picture I had up there. So gotta love that flying key is out of control tonight. So off you go. So what happened? I turned it off in the wrong one. So palettes, key number 1, flying key. So I love the HyperDeck Shuttle too. Jay, it's really cool. David says, I am a HyperDeck guru. Guys, I've been playing with these now and thank you, David, for the compliment. I've been playing for these now for 2 years. I bought my first one because when I did my research, even though it was hard to find any videos on the web on the HyperDeck, they were very limited. after I did all my videos, it seems like a lot of the guys like Aaron Parecki and John Barker started doing more videos. Don't get me wrong, John Barker had a video or two I watched. I think Photo Joseph did as well. And then a lot of people now have jumped on that bandwagon because I have lots of views on my HyperDeck videos. So again, it's a playing device. I used a big deck when I first broadcasted when I was younger, and I worked in broadcasting. I had my broadcasting license. I worked for a local network, and mainly what I did was watch the evening broadcast. And most of it, we were just like a hub. We had a couple local shows that I would just hit play on, and then I would build shows for the next day. So I had two decks, and I was recording a solo music song from one deck to another deck, and then vice versa until I had the show put together. And I'd make my cuts, and that was all done on tape. So I had a tape I was recording to, and I had two tapes I was recording from, and I had to use these decks and change tapes to do that. All these HyperDecks are a modern version of that, plus they have the ability to do things like fill and key, and also time code in and time code out. They can be remote controlled. So they're pretty cool. What I love about them the most is that they are remote controlled. So once I have them set to automate, I can cut to the channel that has my HyperDeck intro video for a live stream, and it automatically plays my intro video, and then I can cut away. In fact, right now, if I cut to my intro video, sorry about that. I should have been reading your text, Tony. So no audio. Evidently, one of my macros turned off. When I rolled my intro video, it shut off my microphone. That's on me. So, wow. Well, I want to wrap it up. That's embarrassing, but thank you so much for blowing up my phone. I have my phone on silent, so I just looked down and saw your text, Tony. Sorry about the audio. I should have seen the audio on my monitor, but when I'm in these like views right here, I don't pay as much attention. So it's a bummer, but at least we have audio now, and it's a bummer that that happened. 10 minutes of this video tonight with no audio. So, well, maybe one day we'll redo that part of the live stream. Thank you guys so much. I need to catch up here in the chat. So I will do that just because I feel so foolish. But just so you know, I still make major mistakes when I'm live. Now you know. So chat on the air. 3 minutes with no sound. We can't hear you. Everybody's shouting. Just trying to help. I should use in-ear monitors, David. You're right. I was really enjoying myself. So it's embarrassing, but it is what it is. So passing over checklist. Yeah, most likely. That's why I said last night in TVJ's live stream, that I wish I had 5 people, someone that was always monitoring my audio. If I put my earbuds in, they stick out and they bother my ears over time. So I apologize, guys. You shouldn't have had to sit there for 10 minutes listening to nothing. So unless you know how to lip read, it was pretty incredible. I spent most of that last bit of time just showing you that you have to change your display settings in order to use Playout B. Playout B is in my Apple Pi, or my Raspberry Pi, sorry, and that Raspberry Pi mini computer. I think I still have this. No, my camera's dead. Turn it back on again. So the Raspberry Pi, it's HDMI out, but it's you operate it by using the web browser. So the web browser is where you control, upload new files to it, stop and start play. And so in order to get this thing to display, at least my experience with it, you have to not duplicate any of your monitors. You need to extend your laptop to all your monitors. One of those monitors then is the input that my laptop is plugged into in the back of my HyperDeck or my ATEm Extreme ISO, and that's where I'm playing from. So that's where it plays to. So in order for you to see it in the live stream, I have to unduplicate my desktop. Now, if I want to show my PC, I always have my desktop shared so that I can put it in the live stream and see it on my desktop. So just one of the downsides of using a Mac or a PC, but the upside is that little Playout B will emulate and clone a HyperDeck. You can auto roll it, and once you get it set up, you can then play it in your live stream, and you could probably bring it in and do some pretty nice animated graphics as well using your key slider to get it looking right. So, okay, so there are plenty of choices for HyperDecks. The modern ones right here. I'm using these two in my studio, primary HyperDecks. And yes, I know it's over my face, but we will live with that. That's the old Mini and the new HyperDeck. I can go like this slideshow. So the old HyperDeck Mini, the new HyperDeck HD Plus. Then I have the Shuttle in my studio. And then I also have my Playout B. And I love the fact that you have teleprompter capability. But I don't like the fact that lots of you have been buying the newer version of that smaller HyperDeck, and it does not have a key channel out the back. And I'm getting lots of comments, people asking me questions in my video series. So go check out those video series. Also check out the one I have here on changing out the fan in the older HyperDeck, because you're going to want to do that if you buy an older version. Go back and check out last week's Thank Fall Live. Get a chance to meet my granddaughter Rhythm as well as Roxy. Learned about some things about her and Yakima I never knew. And then also my wife pops in to say hi, and she comments on all of the things that I've purchased in my studio and something that she's working on right now. So again, these are good choices, so check them out. The older HyperDeck works great. There is no firmware updates for it anymore, so keep that in mind. Eventually, they may not work, but all 4 of these would be great choices for you to use in your studio. The bottom being 4K, and if you don't need 4K, there's no reason to grab that one, but the middle one does have a really nice knob on it and other ways of backing up your data, so you have some redundancy. Okay, well, I'm going to call it quits. Turn that key off for the very last time. I'm not a key fan anymore. Where are you? Off. And I'm not a very good fan of a macro turning my microphone input off. So that will be changed before next week's live stream, so we don't make that mistake again. I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios. We will end with some amazing comments, hopefully all encouraging me. Stuff happens, all is good. I like you even more now, Doug. That would be interesting. Not sure what that was in quote to, David. Sorry. Your audio V meter is in front of your mixer. I actually have audio meters on my BenQ monitor. So literally, I am looking right now at my BenQ monitor, and at the very top here, there's 2 meters. That side is left stereo. That side is right stereo. So I really don't have any excuses, and it's good to have you here, Keto FM. Thank you for joining us tonight. But I'm learning. Yeah, play out B stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think you should go ahead if you want to explore a HyperDeck. The cheapest way to do that would be to go ahead and get a kit and build a little Raspberry Pi. You're going to have to spend the money on the kit. That's going to be about $200. You might want to buy a case. That's going to be more like $250. Then if you're going to go ahead and add Playout B to it, that's another $50. So keep that in mind. But then you can have a HyperDeck clone, and you can at least play videos forward and back. I don't know how stable it is. I haven't played with it. And you will have to use it via your PC and a web browser. So keep that in mind. I got to tell you, I'm a major HyperDeck fan. I don't want to have to use a web browser to control it. I want to be able to operate it through Mix Effects, start and stop. Now, just in all fairness, let me close with this. Let me bring up my control software on the screen here real quick. Let me share my screen. I will be gone here for a second. You can go up here into the media players and into the HyperDecks, and I can play files right here from my Playout B. So it's not really fair to say that I have to play it through the web browser, but what I've discovered is if I share my desktop incorrectly, it doesn't play full screen into my ATEm Mini Extreme ISO. So until I can solve that issue, what that is, I'm going to continue using my HyperDecks, my Playout B in the Raspberry Pi is a great experiment for me. I loved building it. I love the fact, Joe, you sent me most of that kit. Thank you so much, Joe. I didn't see him here tonight, but thank you very, very, very much. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Lieutenant A.K. Allen. Thank you, Tony. I will do my best to have a great week as usual. Keto FN says that's what I have on my radio station. I'm assuming that is play out B. And David is still having trouble losing his connection. Every time he shuts down his system, and I've had the same problem here in my studio. So what I do, as soon as I get into my studio and I'm firing up my ATEMs and I want to do Zoom or work with a client or do a live stream or produce a video, one of the first things I do, guys, is I go into the control software settings and I just delete the last number of my IP address, put the wrong number in there, hit connect. And I have a video here on my channel that says, please help me, please help us. And it's all about this disconnect issue with the HyperDeck. I even reached out to Black Magic Design, and they basically said it was the way I was booting up. And I've tried everything. I've left the HyperDecks on, booted down, the ATEMs back up again, had the problem, didn't have the problem, did just the reverse, boot up all the ATEMs, right? Because I have two ATEm Mini Pro and ATEm Mini Extreme, and then the HyperDecks. The best thing is just leave everything on all the time, David, and it won't disconnect. But the fastest way to reconnect is delete the last number, put in a wrong number, hit connect. As soon as you get the error message, put the right number back in, the last number of the IP address, and hit connect, and you'll get a green, and then hit save startup state. So, okay, that's it. I'm done talking. It's been a great night. Tony said that about leaving his stuff on. So, you know, I mean, obviously I'm trying to conserve power. So I've been turning things off in my studio. Plus it gets really hot in this small room. So I would prefer not to have all these lights and all of these devices on unless I'm using them. So I even have my plethora of switches so I can turn things off, because a lot of things like HyperDecks do not have an on and off button. Either do the ATEMs. So these switches run lights and overhead lights, and I can just turn them off remotely. Just pray that the batteries don't go out in the middle of getting ready to go live. So, well, we have audio. We have 10 minutes of silence on the video. I apologize for that. I'll put that in the notes and the time, and definitely let you skip that if you want to go back and watch any of this. And I will try to cover some of those things that are in the silent section in my next video. So thank you so much for tuning in to Life Journey Production Studios, Tuesday night live at 4 p.m. It is almost 6 o'clock, 2 hours and 45 minutes. I don't want to set any new records, so I am going to say good night. And thank you so much for joining me. Please like the video if you haven't already. I mean, the likes really do make a difference. I love how TVJ, when he's live, he says there are 4 likes. So I need more likes than that. So if you guys enjoyed this video, other than my fupa, please hit the like button. Please share it. Please help me with the YouTube algorithm. And thank you so much for joining me. It is fall now officially on October 22nd. This is October 25th. So enjoy the fall. Stay warm. Stay safe. And I'm Keith, and I'll see you in the next video.